Hi, I'm Riley, and this is On the Way Up. Today I'm joined by a pretty special guest. Would you like introducing yourself?
Yeah, I'm Ian McKeithen. I'm the head men's basketball coach here at Doane.
Awesome. Coach McKeithen, how long have you been around here at Doane?
I think this is my sixth overall year here at Doane. So I've been here for quite some time and hope to be here for a long time coming. So,
Awesome. So the entire process of On the Way Up interview leadership series is just trying to highlight leaderships in our community, leaders in our community. Um, and I guess we landed on you through a lot of student suggestions. First question is, what is leadership to you?
I think leadership can come in a lot of different forms and fashions, obviously. And you don't have to be someone who is technically in charge of something to be a good leader, obviously. I think being uh, morally strong person, I think goes a long way. It should go a long way in our society. Sometimes that can get muddied up a little bit, unfortunately, especially in the environment that we have where everything is so public and social media and video and everything along those lines. I think even in this environment, I think you have to be even more careful about how you appear and how you come across and the words that you say, because it's really out there publicly now. Anytime anything happens or is said, that can be scrutinized or analyzed. And so I think, like I said, it can come in all different types of shapes. But I think leadership to me is really just being kind of who you are. I think society in general can see through a lot of people who try to be something that they are not. And I think anyone can appreciate someone who is true to themselves, not afraid to admit any flaws they may have or that they're growing as a person, but not trying to be something that they're not, obviously.
Awesome. Really enjoyed your answer there. Uh, Not to inflate your ego, but through this process, we just kind of polled around campus. We asked a lot of students, we asked a lot of clubs who are our leaders on campus, and your name came up quite a bit. Do you think there's any reason behind that?
Well, it's interesting that happened. I don't know if there's a particular reason or whatever that might be. It might just be the natural view as a men's basketball coach on campus in terms of, and especially on a campus like Doane where we're all interacting amongst each other. I mean, I walk all over this campus. It's not like I just sit in my office all day. Anybody can see me. Anybody can talk to me. I'm a pretty personal guy in terms of being approachable. And at the end of the day, I try to do my best to promote Doane and promote our program and our university as a whole. And so maybe that has something to do with it in terms of just being a little more well-rounded on campus. But I'm glad to hear that students on campus view me in that manner, which is good.
Yeah. Uh, just to pivot a little bit. So the month of February is Black History Month, and we the people of H Lab kind of felt like it was our responsibility to highlight Black leaders on campus and other people of color on campus. Do you think there's an importance to being a person of color as a leader on campus?
I think yes, but I also think that I think that how to kind of phrase it. I think if you're a person of color or you have a big responsibility to kind of pave the way for other people to come after you or even at the same time as you. And sometimes that can be a little bit of added pressure if you're looking at the job or to be a leader in a broader scope than just yourself, I guess. So there is a little bit of extra there in terms of trying to be the best you can so that others may get opportunities and be viewed in a favorable light. But I think I particularly don't. Um, I try to just act myself as if I'm just another guy, another person on campus. Whether it's there's no racial view should be had to my successes and failures just as it would be for the next person. I think if we can all operate without necessarily always thinking of it in those terms of race and things of those natures, and just concentrate on the achievements of each person and their character, I think we can move in a better direction than maybe what we've been in the past.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Staying a bit on topic, do you think it is important for your athletes of color to see a person like you being able to coach them at the collegiate level?
Yeah, I think so. I think every situation is a little bit different. For example, at the previous school that I was at in Illinois, when I was a head coach there and I started an NAI program there, I would say 90% of my players at that school were athletes of color. That's not necessarily the case here at Doane, and some of that has to do just simply with the demographics of the different areas that we're in. But that's not to say that we haven't had a diverse roster, obviously, since I've been here, not just in race, but in different backgrounds, different countries, things of that nature. So I think if I'm trying to give any example to anyone of color or different diversity when it comes to the student athletes here on campus, is that um, that anybody's capable of being a college coach or a leader in general, a teacher. If you concentrate on your education um, and do well and show people that you really care about your career and and how you're growing as a person, I think people in higher education tend to draw towards, believe it or not, to people of color who really are trying to go above and beyond. And I think at the core, a lot of people in higher education respond well to that, respond well to someone taking advantage of their opportunities and really trying to um, do more than maybe what they started out as. I think I try to tell our players that is too, that you can use this opportunity to do a lot of different things in life, and don't just settle for just hey, I'm just going to go to school and not make an impact in my community or on campus, and to not be involved in different things. I think anytime I can be any type of resource or example to anybody, whether that's an athlete of color or just an athlete or student period, makes me really happy to see that could happen.
Absolutely. Uh, Going back to just some more personal questions, this is an interview series about leadership. Where would you
Mhm.
consider your leadership began?
Oh man. I think probably back when I was a student athlete myself at Dakota State University, when I was a basketball player there, really probably around my senior year. When I transferred there from junior college, my junior year, I think it took me a while to really understand, number one, being in a new place, a new community, a new way of doing things, but also trying to understand where my college coach was coming from in terms of how he wanted me to be on and off the floor. And you kind of, as a young person, you sadly beat your head against a wall one too many times before you realize that um, people are trying to help you and guide you in the right direction. If you just take guidance and essentially coaching, you'll make life a whole lot easier on yourself. So I think that's probably what my first I don't know, I guess, example of where I started to look at things from a broader scope in terms of how I needed to be each day, and that I might have influence on others if I do things the right way. And but that's a evolving thing over a long time. You're talking, at that time I was whatever it was, 21. I mean, 21 years old. That's a long time ago for me, at least. And a lot has changed and since then. And there's still things to this day that I still am learning about, ways to be a better leader and inspire people as well. So it's a constant process when it comes to that.
Absolutely. Relating back to your answer, you had mentioned starting your journey when you were in college as far as a leader. What words of advice would you give to student athletes or students or athletes at the collegiate level or even younger as far as starting their leadership journey?
Um, I think don't be afraid to surround yourself with a lot of people that are smarter than you, and that have experience that you don't have. That's not to say that you shouldn't develop your own philosophies on things, but those philosophies get developed through a lot of experience, and a lot of ups and downs of your own. But I think if you're just starting off where you're trying to, I don't know, get your own bearings on how you want to be, you got to be kind of humble in a way, and know that you don't have all the answers and you won't have a lot of answers for a long time. And you just got to be humble enough to take, like I said, take guidance from other people, listen to their opinions. You may not always agree with all those opinions or ways that they do things, but there's always something you can take from somebody else in terms of a way to do something or a different way of looking at something. And then kind of form your own philosophies and opinions that you would do if you were put in a position to be a leader. And that'll help you in whatever it is that you decide to do. And it may not always be obviously in an athletics field. It could be in any other type of job. Things where you're going to have to work more often than not in some type of team or with a group of people, where you have to interact, you have to problem solve. If you're fortunate enough to just have a job or a career where you just kind of sit by yourself all day and you're not having to answer to very many people, then that might be a different type of life than most of us get to live. But for the most part, you're going to have to um, learn on the fly and also try to use some of the things you're learning along the way as well.
Absolutely. Got a couple more questions for you. Uh, I think it speaks a lot to our campus for students to be mentioning you as a leader they consider. Is there someone who you consider to be a leader? It doesn't have to be on campus, just leader in general.
Oh boy, there's in my world, as in the coaching world, I mean, we naturally, like any profession, you're usually looking to people within your own profession, to see what they do and kind of how they lead their programs and how they lead other student athletes. Um, I wouldn't say there's anybody specific like that really stands out to me. I'm a guy that has no shame in stealing from other people in terms of whether it's stuff that we do on the court, um, ways we promote our program, ways we grow our program, all those types of things. So I try to be more of a sponge in that regard and just pay attention. I think paying attention, believe it or not, is a big time skill. There's so much good information out there, and resources that if you don't pay attention, you're missing out on a whole lot. There's way more things out there to, I mean, and simply just, typing in a search engine, some things, and there's so many things that can pop up and online on social media that are good resources for anyone trying to break into any industry whatsoever, way more than when I was in college or in high school or any along those lines. So if you're a young person, I think that um, boy, there's just so much out there that you can draw from, and you just have to be open to opening your eyes and your ears, and you'd be surprised how much can help you out there for sure.
Absolutely. Just kind of a deeper question here. A lot of uh, coaching athletics is tied to this win-loss margin and how that defines you as a coach. Do you have a time in your coaching experience that you had a complete bottom that wasn't necessarily tied to a specific loss?
Oh boy. As in like a low point, you mean?
Yeah, just absolutely low point in your coaching experience.
Yeah. There some of the low points that happen, that are just things that nobody really knows about, like um, deaths within your program. Like I know my dad died in the middle of our season. This was 5, 6 years ago, maybe more. It was more than that actually. And that year also, I think we had one of our players. I think it was his aunt who died. Like right as he was coming into practice, like he got the word that his aunt just died, and um, another one of our players here at Doane. This was probably 4 years ago. He found out, I mean, his dad drowned in an accident. I mean, just a lot of things that at our level aren't going to really be very public. I think at the higher levels, you might hear something on ESPN or things like that. But I think the majority of people out there would probably be very surprised at the ups and downs of a year. And especially if you have players that are just going through things in life. I think you have to be a mentor to these guys, and when they're going through tough times and tragedies, I mean, you're the one that kind of has to spearhead that, and then that's on top of all the things that go on in your own personal life and things that with your own family members and things that has all those things has a big time effect on your morale, your competitiveness. I mean, there's even a year like this year where COVID is such a big deal. I don't think people quite understand just the mental toll this year has taken on a lot of athletes and coaches with just the constant changes and precautions and differences in the way we do things from day to day that can really wear on you for sure. So, but I don't know. I mean, I can think of one really big example of a low point or where it was really challenging was at my last job. We found out that our school, basically our athletics program, was going to be shutting down a week before our first game that season. And I remember they made the announcement, and I had to go into a room shortly after that and address that with the team that basically, hey, this is going to be the last year as a program period. And it was kind of a tough deal for me because I started that program from scratch, and then to have it like pulled away in year number 3, it was something there's no like playbook for that scenario, right? Where you have to go and be a leader to a bunch of guys who now have to think about their futures of where else they're going to be and then how to keep them motivated through a season like that. So that was one really tough situation or year that I think about quite often. And I'm actually pretty proud of what we did that year and some of the games we were able to win and what we did in the postseason that year. So things that nobody really even knows about because it was such a long time ago, but something I'll remember for a long time.
Absolutely. Keep it on the brighter side. Is there a point in leadership or coaching that you've just had an absolute high peak moment, like something that just went really well? It doesn't necessarily have to be a big win, but I know big wins are really good.
Yeah, big wins are definitely good. For me here at Doane, 4 years ago, we won a conference tournament game on the road, and that was the first postseason win Doane has had in probably 15, 17 years. That was a cool high for me here. But some of them are smaller. And that could be just seeing certain guys get better throughout a year or a particular game plan working against a team that, me and my staff talked about all week, to trying to figure out how to beat a team or at least compete with them, and to see that kind of pay off or that you were on the right track with that is always nice. And then but other things it's just all little things. It could be some of our guys' academic achievements. Now that this is year 5 as head coach here for me, I start to see some of our former players have moved on and have careers, and some of them are coaches, some of them are married and have starting to have young babies now. And so there's a lot of cool moments for me when it comes to seeing those things too. So it's a little, positives and cool things come in different forms for sure, other than just winning and losing.
Absolutely. Another big part of leadership and coaching in general is setting goals. Does the team locker room, does the coaching board right now have a big goal that we're all working towards?
We've had, I think the goals are changed. Like I don't try to go in every year and be like, okay, this is our goal every year. Especially in our program where we're still working to get ourselves in the mix in the GPAC play a lot. I think we just concentrate on trying to get better every day and show progress each year in different capacities. I think each team is different in terms of what are short-term, long-term goals that are attainable for each group. And some of them you just don't know. Like you don't know until you get on the floor and get to playing games what your ceiling is as a team. And so I think each year, I think kind of reassessing, okay, what is, and that might be just flat out, let's just have a very good preseason and see if we can get better at this particular action or this particular defense or whatever it might be. Or an individual or two, like for example, this offseason, which we didn't really have we didn't have an off season last year because everything was shut down from the gym to the weight room. So for me, a goal for our team in the next 6 months, 7 months, whatever it is, until we come back next year, is just to simply use the off season to get better individually and as a team. And I think that's a very obviously easy, attainable goal, assuming that there's not some new COVID thing that pops up in the next 6 months. I'm really hoping not. So, so like I said, I think goals are different each year with depending on the team and what we have going on, obviously.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, I really appreciate the time you give to me. What I've been doing recently is I've just been ending these interviews on kind of a solitary moment for you. Do you have a life motto or a coaching motto that you live by that you kind of hold near and dear to the heart?
One of our, and I mentioned it a little bit earlier, and we have it as one of our core values of our program, and it's just appreciation. I think we talk a lot about that with our players, and it's something I always have to remind myself too, because I think sometimes you get caught up in whatever it might be, the trials and tribulations every day of whether it's being a student or a coach or whatever it might be. But I think the more times you can take a step back and just really appreciate where you're at and how far you've come and what the alternative could be. I think the more appreciation you have, the better person and better leader you will be. When you take things for granted, that's usually when bad stuff starts to happen to you. So and for me, to be in this position from where I grew up, there's no way you could say, okay, you're going to be a two-time head coach and you're going to be in Nebraska and and basketball and my education has taken me to just places that I never would have thought, kind of growing up in California and also the people that I've been able to meet and the kind of the networking that I've been able to do over the last, decade plus. I never would have thought that years ago when I was in high school or whatever it might be. So you never know. So every opportunity you get, you just got to appreciate it and just understand that it could always be worse. You could be in a worse situation. You could not have people care about you and want you to do well. And I think I try to tell our guys that if they live every day like that, they're going to be okay. But just don't lose that at all, because there's, like I said, there's always someone that also would love to have your spot, would love to be where you're at, believe it or not. And so don't let anyone take your position or your progress away from you. So I don't know if that's necessarily a motto or anything along those lines, but I think it's something that we talk about quite a bit in our program.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. This has been On the Way Up with Doane's head men's basketball coach, and I'm Riley Spicer. Thank you.